Football Podcast, joined as always by Clinton Boring. My name is Ryan Satkowiak. Clinton, we have much to discuss this evening. How are you tonight?
Doing pretty good, man. Had a busy weekend. Had a friend visit yesterday with him and wife and daughter, and then we had a massively busy travel day today. So I'm thankful just to be sitting in a chair, not chasing children around or driving, and just ready to talk some football with you.
You know, Clinton, we've been doing this for 6 months, and not once have you ever asked me how I'm doing. Never.
It's a one-sided relationship.
This is a very one-sided relationship. I just wanted to point that out.
We are going to have to go back to 6 months of episodes to look and just see if I've ever asked you.
I don't think you ever have.
All right, well, once. Ryan, how are you today?
I'm fucking tired, just exhausted. It was a long weekend, a lot of driving around because Sam has COVID, and therefore I have exiled myself to the basement to avoid catching said COVID because I can't take a week off of work. I could, I just don't want to. I don't want to use a week.
Do you have a bathroom down there?
No, I got to go to the first floor, but I locked her in the bedroom and put a padlock on the door so she's not allowed out. Not a padlock, but I'm like, anytime you're leaving the bedroom, just text me and I will make sure that I'm not in the same vicinity as you. We have a liter bottle of hand sanitizer left over from 2020 that we have not used. It's just been sitting under the sink, and I've probably used half of that over the last 3 days. Anytime I touch something, I'm like, pour it on me, don't touch anything. I got through this week. My parents were in town, and that kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into our overall plans, but I'm not dead yet. We got our golf round in today, so now if I die, it's all good. Whatever. I lived a full life.
Hey, you got to see Notre Dame win another game. You got that in, too.
Oh, boy. Yay, woo. This is my excited face. The team's going to kill me. Live on YouTube once again this evening. Those of you joining in tonight, thank you for stopping by. We are going to be live every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern. Except for tomorrow. We are not going live tomorrow night. We are not shooting at all tomorrow night because Clinton is a sadist and has to watch the Bengals play. So we'll be live on Tuesday at 9 p.m. this week with a little one-third of the way through the season stock report. I don't know. I couldn't figure out how to phrase that. I have 5 functioning brain cells left, and that's about it.
We'll hash it out before then.
Yeah, we'll figure it out before then. Or as always, if you'd rather listen to us in the morning in your podcast feed, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your shows. We are at Inside the Pylon, a Midwest College Football podcast. There, make sure you're subscribed to the show so you can get that notification each time an episode drops. So whenever we throw a curveball at you, and don't go on a regular time, you still won't miss an episode. Drop a rating, star review and a rating. Jesus, it'd be greatly appreciated. Helps us grow the show, and you can drop any suggestions you might have for us. That'd be fantastic, and we would appreciate it. Tonight, Clinton, we had ranked matchups to talk about. We had surprising matchups to talk about right off the bat. Well, it wasn't right off the bat. I guess it was 3:30 on Saturday game. But our big one of the weekend, a shocker, sort of, kind of, ish, in Ann Arbor. We kind of talked about this on Thursday. The line felt like free money, which usually means it's not, and we both picked USC, but I don't think either of us were particularly jazzed about that pick. We kind of talked ourselves out of at least locking it up. We have Michigan 27, USC 24 in a game that was an affront to the forward pass on one side of the ball. Michigan throws, in case you lived under a rock, which is apparently where Michigan found their offensive game plan in this game from the Stone Age. Alex Orji, Michigan's new starting quarterback, piloted an offense that threw for 32 yards and somehow still beat USC in this game. It was an homage to this last year's team. But here's my thing. We can't even call it an homage to last year's team because that team was thoroughly dominant on the ground. Just a soul-sucking, beat-your-face-in type of offense. And even though Michigan runs for 290 yards in this game, they had a long touchdown run, a 53-yard touchdown run by Khalil Mullings. They had a 41-yard touchdown run from Donovan Edwards. And on the game-winning drive, they had a 63-yard rush from Khalil Mullings. 157 yards on 3 runs, Clinton. Outside of that, they barely moved the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we've kind of had some whiplash on this USC team this year, right? We were kind of talking about them before the season. Are they 8-4? We weren't really feeling that great about them, and then they beat LSU, and we're like, oh, you know what? There might be something here. They come out, they shut out Utah State. Utah State's not that great, but it's still a shutout, man. That's got to be worth something. And then over the last couple of weeks, we'll talk about LSU again today. This is apparently becoming an LSU podcast too, because they look like trash against UCLA. Maybe that LSU team's not so good. And here's USC. They can't move the ball for a quarter, even though maybe that's a little too harsh to kind of dump on USC here because, they started moving the ball in the second half. They kind of figured out how to exploit this Michigan defense. They benefited a little bit from Will Johnson being out of the game on what was at the time the go-ahead drive towards the end of the game. And it's not like the defense played poorly in this game. Obviously, Michigan wasn't even really trying to throw the ball a whole lot, but aside from 3 runs, they did a pretty good job of defending the run. But you look at these runs, they're missing tackles left and right. That last one on that last drive, my God, that dude who missed that tackle, he's going to be seeing that one in his nightmares for the rest of the season.
That was paying homage to last season and the season before when USC could not tackle anybody. As we've mentioned, they've done a much better job this year of, 1, getting in alignment where they need to be, 2, making tackles. What failed them at the end of the game? Making tackles. And then, of course, when push came to shove, they got shoved right out of the way on the goal line stand. Couldn't finish it off. If you watch, I think it was number 44, the fullback for Michigan. Yes, a fullback busts the outside player for USC, and then Maulings pretty much walks right in. I think it is safe to say on the Michigan front, Cleo Maulings is RB1.
Yep.
I don't know how anyone could say anything around that. Donovan Edwards is not even riding shotgun anymore. He's riding in the back seat. Maulings is RB1. Back to Orji. You mentioned they threw for 32 yards, and they somehow won this damn game. I don't know if you could ever be so one-dimensional and still pull off a win against a respectable opponent in USC. But not only was it 32 yards passing, Orji only had a total of 75 yards. He had 43 yards rushing. He didn't do much in this game, which makes it even worse. You're one-dimensional, but your one dimension was supposed to have your quarterback come in who would make big plays on the ground for you to at least make it a threat, and it really didn't happen that way either. With this Michigan team moving forward on offense, I don't know if I feel any more confident in them. You said it best. If you take away the big runs, which I know they happen, so they are in the scorebooks.
Right. That's just it's not how football works, but still.
Yes, but you're not going to get those, 50, 60, 70, 80-yard runs all the time, right? You're going to have to win in the trenches and get 5, 6 tough yards here and there to win a game, not be able to pop off a 65-yarder to run all the way down the field. The other thing, too, USC's offensive line gave up 4 sacks. The Michigan pass rush looked back to form. They were hounding Miller Moss through the day. And you go back to the start of the game. I think it was opening drive. There were some questions from USC fans about potential missed calls. That was a very clear and obvious delay of game that was not called on Michigan. The clock sat on double zeros for 3 additional seconds before they snapped the ball. I believe, was that a 4th down play?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a 4th and short. It was a 4th and short that Orji ended up getting, but they would have been longer if they would have called the delay game. Some USC fans are arguing there were some missed face masks, different things like that. Listen, I always say this, if you're going to sit and rely on refs to win you a game, you don't deserve to win it. You have to go out and earn it and win it yourself. My one additional, outside of Miller Moss looking pretty good, his pick 6 against Will Johnson clearly flipped the game. If you take that away, USC wins. Woody Marks had another good performance, 100 yards on 13 carries. He also had 5 catches for 40 yards. He is a rock for this offense, especially when they had, was it Lemon got hurt?
Yep.
I think their tight end got hurt, and sounds like that might be more long-term. They had to bench their left tackle in this game because he was getting his ass chewed so bad by Michigan's pass rush. Was it Stewart, the defensive end? So that's a big change in a game when you're in the big house and you still almost won. But here we are again. Lincoln Riley faced a team who can bully you with the run game, like Utah, and you lost.
Mm-hmm. So I did math.
Uh-oh.
It's always dangerous when that happens. In the game, we talked about it, 290 yards rushing for Michigan on 46 carries. On the other 43 carries, not the 2 long touchdowns and the long Mullings run to set up that last touchdown, Michigan averaged 3.1 yards per carry in this game.
Yep. Well,
That's
Ryan,
not
there was
good.
a point
That's not
until
good.
that last drive in the second half that they won with. They had 9 yards total of offense in the second half.
Is it possible? Like, this was a good game between two evenly matched teams. Is it possible to watch a game like that and somehow feel worse about both teams after the fact?
Absolutely, because
I don't think either of these teams are particularly great.
No, I've seen that reaction across Twitter that the people feel worse, especially about Michigan. And then if you're going to feel worse about Michigan, I think you have to feel worse about USC because USC couldn't beat a team who threw the ball
32 yards.
Threw the ball 12 times, 7 completions for 32 yards.
I root for a team that doesn't have a functioning passing attack, and they had a touchdown pass that was longer than Michigan's entire offensive output through the air in this game.
Yep.
It's just horrendous.
Yep. I don't know moving forward with them, man. I if you have their schedule up, I don't. I have a couple other ones up.
I do. So next week, Minnesota. I don't think they're going to be particularly threatened in that game. Sorry, Gophers fans. Week after that, they are at Washington again. I don't think they're going to be particularly threatened in that game. I think Washington's defense still soft.
Is it at Washington?
Yeah, but their defense is still soft as baby poo. That's good win for Washington this weekend. We'll talk about that, but that's a Northwestern without Cam Porter. That's not impressive at all. Illinois might be interesting. It's in Champaign.
Revenge
Illinois
game from 2022.
Revenge game for sure. Illinois is looking good. Michigan State, I don't think they'll be particularly threatened. Michigan State can hold on to the football.
Pitts is on the 1 yard line. Almost had me a touchdown. Damn it.
Clinton, this is a we're rooting for KC -3 podcast. You shut your mouth. I think they might get worked by Oregon, to be completely honest. Yep. Indiana could be spunky. Be spunky. In Bloomington. Shit, we should have gone to that game.
Well, we didn't envision that it was going to be that good of a match.
No. You know what they say about November's in Bloomington. Northwestern, not talking about that, and I mean, they might be down by 30 to Ohio State at the time if they play like this.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say one piece about that. It still gives me pause. If Michigan, obviously, they have to get some type of passing game where they will not beat Ohio State. The key that they've been able to beat Ohio State the past 2 years, not 3 years ago, but the past 2 years, is that McCarthy had the ability to make big plays when Michigan needed it. And Orgy's not going to do that, nor is Davis Warren. But if Michigan can get this run game rolling again and get something out of Orgy throwing the ball, I think they might give Ohio State a game. I think Ohio State fans are jumping on this a little bit too early, given that this team has owned you for 3 straight years.
Your one solace in that, if you're a Michigan fan, is you have 2 months to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And it's a rivalry game.
Mm-hmm.
So anything and everything is going to go. Michigan will pull out every stop possible to be able to beat you at the end of November to ruin your season. So we'll see. Long way off.
Yeah, USC, on the other hand, I mean, I don't know that it really changes anything projection-wise for them because outside of I can't even say with a straight face there are 2 big games left because this Notre Dame team is ass, but I don't think they're beating Penn State, and I don't know, maybe Notre Dame figures out how to throw a frickin' forward pass by the end of November. But we're looking at Wisconsin. Outside of those 2 games, we're looking at Wisconsin, Minnesota, Maryland, Rutgers, Washington, Nebraska, UCLA. I mean, maybe the Rutgers game's interesting, but not willing to go there yet. Nebraska game, I think that could be interesting as well, but you at least get that one in LA. So I don't know that I saw anything from either of these 2 teams that makes me think that they're both going to lose at least 2 more this year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think either of those teams is a playoff team, if we're being honest with each other right now. Circle of trust, I don't think they're either a playoff team.
Yep. Not at all. I mean, neither one of them is even going to touch the Big Ten championship either, barring absolute collapse by other teams in this conference, i.e. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, hell,
Mhm.
even at this point, Indiana and Illinois.
Yep.
Like, I
for
would
sure.
put those two teams over USC and Michigan at this point. They look much better.
We got to talk Iowa too, man. We got to keep Iowa in that
Oh my
conversation.
gosh.
Their loss
I'm
was
gonna-
a non-con game.
I'm going to cheers one out to Kaleb motherfucking Johnson, man. Oh my
He is
God.
good. We will get to him in a second. Anything else notable on Michigan? No Colston Loveland in this game, so obviously that hurts. But again, you threw 7 for
Wouldn't have
12
mattered.
for 32 yards. I can't imagine that there was much passing in the game plan. And maybe that was
I
a Loveland
guess
thing. I don't know.
finding the way to stifle their run game if they do get it going. And can you do it for 4 quarters? Because if the defense gets rolling, this is, again, not the defense they've had the past 3 years, but if the defense gets rolling and they stop you from scoring and then Michigan has long drives keeping you off the field, they're going to hang. But the question is, what team or teams are able to stop that run game and make them pass? And I think you just mentioned 2 of them, Oregon and Ohio State.
That's the problem, though, Clinton, is they didn't have long drives and they weren't rolling in this game. They capitalized on 3 long plays, and that's
not going to happen.
No,
every time.
When you play teams that, and I mean, USC tackle a lot better, but there's still some ghosts of Alex Grinch hanging out in there. You get the tougher Oregon defense, the tougher Ohio State defense. That is not going to be a game plan that wins you either of those games. Maybe even not Illinois, which is a great transition to Illinois 31, Nebraska 24 in overtime.
What a game!
What a damn game this was, man. We had turnovers, fumbles. I thought Illinois was going to get run out of the building early in this one, and they clawed back in there. Both quarterbacks played particularly well. I'm really impressed with Luke Altmaier in this game, and I think the kind of the story of this game, Clinton. We talked before that neither of us saw Illinois' offensive line holding up against that Nebraska front 7, and they more than held their own. It was not a hugely productive day on the ground, but good enough. 38 carries, 168 yards. And they kept for the most part, they kept their quarterback upright. They only allowed 2 sacks. One of those ended up being a strip sack fumble, which nearly had Illinois behind the 8 ball there early, man. But I was really impressed with both quarterbacks in this one. I think with Raiola, we kind of talked a little bit too. How do you win this game if you're Illinois? You get him to make some freshman mistakes. The interception in the end zone, I thought it was just a great play by the DB. But you look at that overtime drive, man. That was a freshman quarterback trying to do way too much instead of just getting rid of the ball.
Yep.
And you end up in a 3rd down situation where you're, 3rd and 40 or something like that. You just don't even have a chance to make a play of that. So I think, again, while we talked about that last game where I watched it and I thought, man, both of these teams are just kind of meh. I was pretty impressed with both of these teams. Not impressed enough that I think Illinois is necessarily going to give Penn State a fantastic game this weekend, but good enough to be spunky. And I think we'll be hearing from both of these teams again as the season goes along.
Yep. As you said, both quarterbacks played really well. Let's get to Luke Altmaier against the blitz. He was 10 of 12 for 83.3%, 139 yards, 2 TDs, good enough for an 83.4 passing grade. If you're going to have ice in your veins in the face of a blitz that much, that was 12 pass attempts he faced the blitz. Stone cold, man. Looked phenomenal. Illinois also found a run game to help complement the pass game tonight. They ran for 168 yards, as you said. Holy cow. When you have a more balanced offense, it works pretty well. That was part of my pause in picking Illinois in this game was, outside of our questions on O-line, was could they run the ball enough to be balanced enough? And they did it really well. Nebraska fans pretty down after the game. But, man, Raiola, yes, he made freshman mistakes, but he's a freshman. You have this kid for 2 more years. He's only going to get better the rest of this season. And it's 1 game. I know it's another 1-possession game loss. It's, frosting on the cake there at the end to build onto that. But it's hard. What was I had the stat here. Where was it? It's something, man. They are since like 2018. Well, 2018, they are like 8-31 in 1-possession games.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
And they haven't beaten a ranked opponent, I think they said, since 2016. something like that. And it's really hard. But the biggest thing I noted, it wasn't even the Raiola in overtime, was, man, just a little bit too far out of the tight end's grasp late in the game. And the announcers brought this up, that's like tight end 3 for Nebraska. So Illinois didn't even respect. They had a great play call there. Illinois didn't respect you. We're going to throw the ball to them. Just a little far, man. Nebraska's defense, certainly not the black shirts we'd seen through the first few weeks, gave up 381 yards. They allowed 8 yards per pass. And for the game, a 78% completion percentage. Only had 2 sacks, only 2 TFLs. That's not what we expected from Nebraska this game. Illinois, on the other side, had 5 sacks and 7 TFLs. I do believe 3 of those sacks came in overtime. Overtime was got cleaned up pretty quickly, and Illinois made easy work of Nebraska. But nothing to hang your heads about, Husker fans. Got a great team, long season ahead. I'm really intrigued to see what Illinois can do next week against Penn State under the lights.
Oh yeah, they're right back in the meat grinder next week. While Nebraska has a pretty soft landing spot against a Purdue defense, Clinton, that would probably allow you or I to run for 100 yards against them.
Ooh, I did. Before we move on, I did have one thing. The Illini have beaten 2 ranked opponents in the same season for the first time since 2007. Yes, I know Kansas is ass. They're 1-3 now, but they were ranked when they beat them. And they're off to a 4-0 start for the first time since 2011. Here is the stat. Nebraska's dropped 25 straight games to top 25 teams since 2016 and is now 8-31 in one possession game since 2018. Kind of unique to see how these teams go so far apart without these things, but it's obviously been a roller coaster ride for Husker fans over the past since the early 2000s, mid 90s. So yeah, that's my last piece. I knew I had that stat in there. I just found it, but
it was hiding in there. It was hiding in there. Yeah, I don't think I have much to add on that. It's a compelling schedule for Illinois the rest of the season. They will certainly over the next month have an opportunity to shake up the Big Ten race. Let us know. We're going to find out a lot about how good this team is, man. Whether these first couple weeks have been a fluke.
I'll tell you what, you go in and beat Penn State. Hell, even if you don't beat them, if you come down to a fourth quarter game with them, I think everybody's going to take you really seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Really seriously. And Michigan better be treading lightly going into Champaign in a few weeks then.
Yeah. Burt Ball almost got him 2 years ago when it was a much better Michigan team. So that'll be one to watch here coming up in mid-October. Is that the day after we're in Purdue? I think that's the day after we're in Purdue. Nice.
Yep.
Thank God we can't miss that game. Can't miss watching that. Next up, we had the Iowa offensive resurgence continues, Clinton.
Oh my God.
31 points in
this
one.
Blip on the radar, and here they are. They're back.
It was a day of not passing the football in the Big Ten in this one. Speaking of low passing outputs, Cade McNamara finishes with 62 passing yards, but Kaleb Johnson is he is him, as the kids say these days. 21 carries, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. He has rushed for 685 yards so far this season as the Hawkeyes get the pig back. A 31-14 win over Minnesota. There was a lot of consternation in the first half from Iowa fans I was seeing in this game. They were not looking particularly great moving the football, and then coming out of the half, you get a 5-play 68-yard touchdown drive, 6-play 73-yard touchdown drive, 9-play 34-yard field goal drive, 6-play 52-yard touchdown drive, turning 14-7 halftime deficit into that final score tally. What I think I did, I'm doing a lot of math today. So in that so there was did I include the interception one in this one? Ah, shit, you're gonna make me do math again.
This is compelling radio. No.
Yeah, it's compelling radio. Good for me. No, so in between those scoring drives for Iowa, we had for Minnesota, I think it was 13 plays for 14 yards. So that Iowa defense clamped the F down in the second half. And even when it was 31-14 and Minnesota started moving the ball a little bit there towards the early part of the fourth quarter there, Quinn Schulte with an interception, and then Iowa runs almost 7 minutes off the clock, moving 21 yards to more or less close out the game. So great win there for Iowa. They They're on the up and up again, and they have a nice little off week to continue to get that offense figured out before a big old showdown in Columbus that first weekend of October.
Yeah, I said the same note about Kaleb Johnson. My other added piece that I've started to try to get the trend going on Twitter here, he absolutely should be at the top of the Heisman race with Ashton Genty right now. I don't know how you couldn't put him there. You mentioned the 685 yards. He also has 9 TDs with that, and he's averaging 8.4 yards per carry. That's impressive. He is carrying this offense on his back, given the continued lackluster performance of Cade McNamara. Iowa also, they topped 200-plus rushing yards for the 4th straight game, which is the longest streak for the program since 2013. As you alluded to, Ryan, if they can't pass, Johnson's going to run for about 50 yards because Ohio State is going to blow him up, and they're going to get their doors blown off.
Load the box.
I would fully expect in the week off, Iowa's going to take that Brendan Sullivan package, which I think predominantly they use in the red zone, and they're going to use that in other spots on the field to try to stress Ohio State's defense, who we'll get to in a moment, has looked somewhat susceptible in a quarter here or there to mobile quarterbacks. As we look at Minnesota, I don't want to leave them out. Brosmer took a while to get going, but all in all, he didn't play bad. An INT late when Iowa knew they had to pass, so that was his second pick. So, yeah, it goes in the stats, but he had one pick through the crux of the game. 17 for 26 and 165 yards and 2 scores before halftime. Pretty impressive. That matched the most first-half completion since P.J. Fleck took over in 2017. So there has been some improvement outside of week 1 in this Minnesota pass game. But, man, Darius Taylor got stifled.
Yeah, he did.
The entire Minnesota team ran for 72 yards. I think Taylor had 30-something.
34 on 10 carries. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about this running back matchup on Thursday, and we said, what would happen if one of the defenses stifled the other run game? Well, I mean, Brosmer performed pretty well, but they got their doors blown off because they couldn't do what they're best at, which is running the ball. So tough hit for Minnesota, especially being a home game. But you're right, Iowa gets the bye week, and let's see what they get against Ohio State.
Good little transition there. Nice little segue. Ohio State 49, Marshall 14. There was a brief moment in the early second quarter of this game where I'm like, is this going to get interesting here? And I think it kind of stopped being that way for when they called back that muff punt because of the formation penalty. At that point, it was like, what was it, 14-7 at that point?
14-7 or 21-7. It was something like that.
Yeah, so Marshall would have had a chance to have the ball in the Ohio State red zone, a chance to kind of make the game interesting, but they didn't. And the Ohio State team did what good should do, is the talent prevailed as the game went on. I'll let you kind of talk on this one because there's one point, I think early in the first quarter, you texted me, you're like, I'm kind of concerned about Will Howard here.
Yeah, so my first concern was time of possession in that first quarter and a half. Ohio State's D-line did not look good. They got pushed around. Tyleik Williams not playing in this game. I have no update on how severe or what this injury was. Maybe it was just something small. They're like, let's hold him out. That certainly didn't help, but that's also concerning to the fact that if your run defense, which has been great to this point, changed that much because one guy's out, then you better figure out your depth. Because you're going to get a lot of run attacks in the Big Ten, especially after Michigan State, starting with Kaleb Johnson. O-line played pretty well. They only gave up 1 sack, and that sack was to Mike Green, who's a defensive end for Marshall and will be playing on Sundays. The left side was Simmons, and then Donovan Jackson back for this week was absolutely dominant. Road graders, that's where they ran a lot of their run plays to. And if you want to talk about run games and not only the Big Ten, but the NCAA, Judkins and Henderson are as deadly as a duo as we said they're going to be. Judkins is more explosive than I think I ever saw at Ole Miss.
Yeah, he looks fast. He looks really fast.
Cow. Like that 1-2 punch is going to knock a lot of people out. Pass game had explosive plays. Igbuka and Smith TDs going for 68 and 53 yards apiece. But my concern was just Will Howard. Like, I know it was Jeremiah Smith's down there somewhere and you throw it, and the DB made a good play. I just still have my questions about Will Howard. Questions about Will Smith too. Will Howard.
Couple.
He's really effective in the RPO game. He's good in the quick game. That's fine. But when he has to get down the field for key moments, what's it going to be? Because not every game is Jeremiah Smith or Egbuka just going to run past someone. He's going to have to fit it into windows. There's going to be some tight windows against Iowa. The biggest way Iowa can come beat Ohio State is Will Howard hands the ball to him with interceptions. So, I don't know. Ohio State, I want to see a little better out of the D-line. I was a bit disappointed getting pushed around in the run game. They were rotating a ton of players. I think that was the case for both teams. I heard it was like 110, 120 degrees on the field for the game. It was super hot here in Columbus on Saturday. So maybe that was a different piece. Maybe they're trying to keep guys fresh for the start of Big Ten play. I don't know. But for the sake of let's bring in Danny Cannell here. Ohio State will finally play someone with a pulse this weekend, sir. As they start Big Ten play, we will start to see what this team has. Well, I have a piece to that. I have a piece to this that I put in the Michigan State, and we'll just bring it up now. Daily MSU on Twitter said, essentially to the point of, I don't know how you guys feel, but is it crazy of me to think Michigan State's going to pull the upset this weekend? I'm like, bro,
it's pretty crazy.
I don't know what drugs you're on right now, but in no world, you just gave up 100 and something rushing yards to BC last week. Like, what the hell do you think Ohio State's going to do to you? They're going to mow you over.
Your quarterback cannot stop throwing interceptions.
Yes, and that's against a defense that is nowhere near Ohio State. What do you think's going to happen? Like, I get you're trying to be positive after a tough loss, but you're going to get road graded on Saturday. You're going to lose by 30 points.
Cold take that.
You can book it. That's going to be probably my lock of the week on Thursday.
We gonna clip this one right here, and when Sparty's coming out there with a win planting the flag,
never going to happen. Never going to happen.
For some reason, Indiana is not ranked. Hoosiers 52, Charlotte 14. They are 4-0. They are beating the snot out of everybody they play. Curtis Rourke looks good again. The ground game is a running back by committee situation here. They are spreading the ball out. They're keeping everyone fresh. A massive committee. They're throwing the ball to everyone. It is a fun offense, Clinton. 5 running backs with more than 29 rushing yards. As a team, they ran for 6 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry, 222 yards on the ground. I don't really have a lot on this game because I don't think Charlotte's all that good, but Indiana did what you're supposed to do as a good team, and you beat the snot out of someone you should beat the snot out of.
Yeah, I don't know what more there is to say about Indiana at this point. They're a good team. They're going to be a pesk.
What was that preseason over-under? Was it 5.5?
Yes, they're going to smoke that.
They're going to cash that over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maryland will be a tough game, but then they got Northwestern. Yeah, they're
Though, I mean, they're very much on that second tier line. And we talked about maybe doing like a tier episode on Tuesday. They're very much on my second tier line in the Big Ten. Rourke in the offense, they're now averaging 50 points a game. They had over 500 yards of offense this weekend. You already mentioned that, do a really nice job of dispersing carries and targets pretty evenly. Now my question is, we're going to officially enter Big Ten play. Do they change that, especially with the running back room? Mm-hmm. We're seeing like 6-7 guys get carries, and understand because they're wiping the floor with everyone. I'll be really curious to see this weekend when they play Maryland, how many guys and where those volume of carries are split between. I certainly think Ellison, I'm not as well in the know as Indiana fans are, but Ellison seems like the dude there for them. Their defense was stout. They only allowed Charlotte to score in the second quarter, and that was it. And you talked about the upcoming schedule. It's not just the next 2, man. Like, I think Maryland, Indiana is probably going to be a shootout, but they get Northwestern. Then they're going to get Nebraska at home. Then they're going to get Washington at home. Then they're going to go to Michigan State, and they're going to go to Michigan. That's their next 6. I can easily see a path to, I think they drop 5-1 for them in there.
I don't know that they're winning all of those games, but they're all winnable.
Or even 4-2. But you're right. That's the key word. They're all winnable. You look in years past, would you say that about Indiana? You're like, no, Maryland lost.
No.
Nebraska lost. Washington lost. Michigan lost.
Listen, if you told Hoosiers fans before the season that you'd be 8-2 going into Ohio State, they'd all take it.
Absolutely.
They would cut your ass off and say, "Yes, give it to me."
Yes, you couldn't name the last time outside of 2020, guys. I get it. I've been told that already. Outside of 2020, how much excitement? There wasn't much excitement with the 2020 season because Kevin Warren's a dickhead and almost cost us our season anyways. But outside of that, I mean, IU fans been chomping at the bit. This is an exciting team, and I enjoy watching them play, and I cannot wait to see them play Maryland Saturday.
Speaking of which, Maryland 38, Villanova 20. A backdoor Villanova cover here. They got a touchdown.
I think you might have called that on the Thursday show. You said, watch, Villanova will backdoor cover this somehow.
Bastards. This game was never really in doubt. Maryland controlled the game throughout. I didn't watch it. I don't know if they were running like second, third team out there in the fourth quarter, but Villanova had 231 yards in this game, and 135 of those came in the fourth quarter when the game was backups. Already 31-10. So story of the game for me is the Billy Edwards to Ty Felton connection continues to be quite noised. 14 catches for Felton, 157 yards. He has 41 receptions through 4 games this season. That's I think the FBS record is 159. So he's going to need to up that pace a little bit to hit that one, but that's a pretty good start to the season. Pretty good start.
I mean, could you argue to say it's through 4 games of the season or 4 weeks of the season that the Big Ten not only has a Heisman frontrunner in Kaleb Johnson through 4 games, but a Bolitnikoff frontrunner as well in Ty Felton?
Well, maybe, but I'm not abreast to the rest of the country.
No. But I'm just saying that these guys at least have their names there, right?
Oh, sure.
Look at what Felton's doing. Like, if you ask me Bolitnikoff, I would probably be more inclined to say Ohio State or Oregon probably has that. No, he's sitting on Maryland right now.
Nope.
My only piece to add to the Maryland game, again, I'm not going to lie, I did not waste time checking this game out. I figured Maryland would handle them, and they did. It was pretty much over at halftime. If Indiana finds a way to take away Felton, which has not been done yet, but they have not. Indiana is better than Michigan State at this point, in my opinion. If Indiana takes away Felton, can Maryland function in the pass game? I'll be curious to see what they can do. The other guys will have to have a way to step up. No one's shown their ability to stop them yet, but I think Cignetti's going to have something up his sleeve to try to take out Felton there. So we'll see what both teams are kind of made of on Saturday.
I feel terrible for Kent State. It has been a hell of a start to the season for the Golden Flashes. Penn State 56, Kent State 0. At least they did not give up 37 points in the first quarter this time. Nothing. I didn't really write anything down for this. Kent State had 67 yards in the game. That's not going to get it done. Draller was pretty good. 17-21, 309, 3 touchdowns. They ran for 309 yards on the ground, split between a bunch of different people because they were up by 30 at halftime or whatever it was. Yeah, they covered. Good for us. We had a real bad week with our picks. So we needed one there.
Yep. I had a little bit. I did some reading on this one. Excuse me, just because I didn't get to watch it. Tyler Warren, Nick Singleton, Liam Clifford, Omari Evans, Khalil Dinkins all caught touchdown passes. However, the fun one of the day was Tyler Warren also had a touchdown pass of his own through to Nicholas Singleton. I think it was a 17-yard touchdown. I think it was an out pass, and Singleton did all the work. However, Penn State set a record in this game with 718 total yards of offense. And they, as you mentioned, held Kent State to just 67 yards and 6 first downs. They also forced 10 punts.
It's a lot of punts.
Penn State's previous total offense record, Ryan, was 707. Can you give me the year that Penn State did that on a guess?
2016.
Not even close. That record for total offense in a game had stood since 1926.
How the hell they didn't even have a forward pass then?
They had 707 against.
Was it the Chicago School of Dentistry?
No. Susquehanna. I don't know. But since
Can you
1926,
say that word again for me, please?
Susquehanna.
Can you use it in a sentence? Can you give me the country of origin?
Susquehanna'd myself. No, I'm just kidding. Penn State.
Jesus Christ. That's nasty.
Penn State, though, one note for them. They do have a habit of starting slow this year. They cannot do that as they get into Big Ten play. I know you're going to get a home night game against Illinois, but if you get Luke Altmaier, who just stood in the face of Lincoln or in Lincoln this past weekend, and he's stone cold in third downs and against the blitz, you're going to be in trouble. Here's a big note, though. Holy cow. Danny Deny Sutton and Abdul Carter finally got sacks. One apiece. That's my last bit for this game. They finally got some pass rush and sacked somebody.
I'm boycotting talking about Notre Dame.
Oh, you don't want to talk about them?
I'm boycotting it. I'm not giving them oxygen.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's go LSU, UCLA first, and you can talk about your former coach, and then we'll talk about Notre Dame.
For the love of God.
Because every single freaking game, the whole meat of the Big Ten slate was at effing 3:30 this past week.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying.
Every single game. Like, my God, space them out.
I was at a bar, though, so I didn't even have to multi-view it. I just had a bunch of different TVs to look at, which was nice.
Nice.
There were people at the bar who were just oddly yelling at this game. Like, one of this guy's like, "That's a hold! That's holding! You can't do that! 10 yards more!" I'm like, who are you? Why are you yelling at this? Why are you mansplaining holding to your friend here? I have beef with LSU because I thought that was the easiest bet of the century, and I don't know what the hell they were doing in the first half.
Yeah, we got smoked on that one.
17-17 at halftime. I think. Oh God, everything's blending together here. UCLA was moving the ball pretty well in the first half, and in the second half they ran 23 plays. That is not a large number of plays to run in a full half of football. Had 79 yards. And that is how you go from a 17-17 halftime score to a 34-17 loss.
Yep.
A couple long touchdown drives for LSU. Garrett Nussmeier was really good. UCLA, 216 yards in the first half for UCLA. They did not run the ball at all in this game. They had 14 yards rushing. Ethan Garber is pretty good. 281 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He was picked off, but I mean, the inevitability eventually happened. So kudos to UCLA for kind of hanging in this game for a half, keeping it close. But thanks for blowing the lock of the week, I guess.
Well, we had 2 of them. We did get one of them.
We did get one of them. Jesus Christ, Clinton, we almost lost that one.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. Tied at 17 at the half. When I saw that, my jaw hit the floor. I had to pick it up. LSU was booed off the field at halftime. That's how pissed their fans were. To be honest, I was more shocked that LSU was in a fight with UCLA than the other way around.
Yeah.
Clearly they turned it on in the second half. UCLA didn't score. This is not an SEC podcast, but what I take more away from this game on LSU than I did UCLA is that I think LSU might be fraudulent. I
don't think there's a might there, Clinton.
I know we mentioned this a couple times is a win's a win, and USC beat a ranked LSU team, but I don't know how good LSU is.
The issue for LSU is that it's 3 straight. Yes, but also that's 3 straight a win.
Yeah.
At a certain point, what do they say? That you're kind of formulating a pattern here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mentioned Garber's good game. The only other one, he had a fumble in the first half, having not really paid that close attention to the game because, again, every single one of these games was staked in at 3:30. I don't know if that fumble was costly, but since they only did something in the first half, I have a feeling it might have been. Props to UCLA. You got laid out for your worst home loss last weekend by Indiana, and you came back and you fought for 2.5 quarters. This is a very half glass full way to look at this, but it's something to build on.
And now we never have to talk about LSU on this show again, though I do want to mention that over the SEC schedule, they have to play Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Oklahoma.
You just named 4 losses.
I don't know about Oklahoma because they look kind of bad last night.
Oh, you did say Oklahoma. Yeah, they look.
The new quarterback that they put, Jackson Arnold, sucks. the new quarterback at least had some juice. So
yeah.
Good for Schadenfreude. That's all I'll say about that. No, I mean, I think for UCLA, I mean, if you're after, I'm sure, I think morale was pretty low after the IU game. So to go on the road to Baton Rouge and to make it a game and not embarrass yourselves, that has to count for something, I think. Maybe.
All right. Let's take a plane and travel up to South Bend, Indiana,
and
tell us about your Notre Dame Irish.
Can you not make me do this?
Hey, listen, Riley Leonard threw a touchdown pass, so your bold prediction came true.
Based
on everything I've read from Notre Dame fans, though, Riley Leonard still looks like ass. I saw someone tweet, "We could win the national championship, and I'd still hate Riley Leonard."
There's a guy I follow. I think he contributes to Irish Sports Daily now, but he's the most like he did a podcast with someone else, and I had to stop listening to it because he was just so like everything was positive, and even he at the halfway point of it was like, he's in his own head. You got to bench him.
Yeah,
like the first half offense was a train wreck, just awful. Like they schemed up the same throws that they did against Purdue last week. He was throwing balls 5 yards over guys' heads at the line of scrimmage. I could make that throw, Clinton. I cannot throw a football, and I could have made that throw. And he was overthrown 5 yards over the head. Ridiculous. Just absurd. Completely absurd. To his credit, he settled down. Notre Dame also got booed heavily in this game to the point that Marcus Freeman was asked about it after the game. Riley Leonard was asked about it after the game. The vibes are not good in South Bend, Clinton. Like, just it is like, this is a powder keg, and if they get smoked by Louisville this weekend, I think they might do that thing where they put for sale signs in Marcus Freeman's front yard. Like, I have never seen, well, that's probably not true, but the way that the fan base has completely turned on him as a head coach from week 1 to now is astounding. Like, there are people putting lists out on Twitter of, here's who they should hire as the next head coach. Like, the fan base is completely out on this guy, and I can't say that I blame him. Like I said it after the NIU game, I'm not this guy who's just going to sit here and be like, oh, MF, fire everyone, blah, 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 blah. But, like, what redeeming quality is he bringing to the program right now? He's not a good game day coach. He's got this bullshit fucking trestle ball mentality, and it's like, this has been dead in college football for 15 years. You cannot run your program like this. Like, this is not how you run an offense. Like, he's pre-gaming. Like, they do that stupid pre-game interview with him on NBC, and he's like, oh, well, we just got to take what the other team gives us. I'm like, they're a MAC team. You dictate the terms. Go out and beat their brains in.
Maybe he should go on Talk Tua with Hawk Tua Girl.
It's just such a funny place to be because, like, they almost pitched a shutout. They gave up like 100 yards passing in this game. They almost covered a 4-touchdown spread despite looking like ass. And the entire fan base wants to fire everyone. It's a weird place to be, man. I don't know. I have no faith in this team right now. Like, they look terrible. They don't look good. They don't look functional on offense. How the hell do you think you're going to move the ball against Louisville this week when they're just going to put 11 guys on the line of scrimmage and be like, all right, we're just going to go press man on your 2 receivers out wide. Good luck.
Yep. And Tyler Shuck is looking pretty good so far with Louisville. So.
I'm not worried about Louisville's offense. So here's some stats for you. You like stats. Through 4 games, teams throwing at Ben Morrison and Christian Gray are 17 of 36 for 135 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception with 6 pass breakups. The stats throwing against safeties, Xavier Watson and Don Schuler, are very similar. Notre Dame, through 4 games, is allowing opposing quarterbacks to complete passes at a 42.7% rate, which is the best in the nation. The pass defense is elite. The run defense stinks. Miami had 3.9 yards per carry in this game. Coming into this game, they were averaging like 1.7, so that's pretty abysmal. Not great. Not very good. I don't understand the run defense at all because the defensive line was supposed to be a strength of this team, and now we're playing without 2 defensive ends due to injury in this game. But it's not great. I don't even know what to think of the offense, man. It's bad. It's bad. It's not good.
It's going to be an interesting game.
Riley Leonard's going to run for 1,000 yards this year. He might not throw for 1,000 yards. He's going to throw for 1,000 yards, but unless I bench him. No, I don't know. I watched this game with my dad, and I don't remember the last time that I've watched a Notre Dame game with him. It might have been like the 2015 Stanford game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so bad for my mental health because it's like watching a game with like the worst version of myself where like all my inner demons are just like coming out and just like, fire him, bench him. Ah! We're like screaming at the TV in this bar. Everyone's watching the Michigan USC game. And there are these two jabronis sitting at the bar watching Miami of Ohio at Notre Dame. And people are looking at us like, the hell's wrong with them? So that was fun. That was an enjoyable experience. But Clinton, I don't know. I had a lot of thoughts on this game, and then you got me all riled up, and it just all came out as blubbering shit because that's all this team deserves.
It's all right. This is why you watch Notre Dame, and then I just let you talk. If you're ready, we can move on to Rutgers and Bot.
Bro, it's just like it's so fascinating watching this team because literally anything could happen.
Mm-hmm.
They could beat Louisville by 49 points this weekend. They could also lose by 49 points to Louisville this weekend. Literally anything is on the table on any given weekend. This is not a fun way to watch a football team.
Yeah.
I wish that I had the life of a Georgia fan where it's like, maybe we look like garbage against Kentucky, but we're still going to win because Kentucky is bad.
Yep.
I'm sitting there in the first half. I'm like, are they going to lose? Are they going to be 0-2 in MAC play this year?
Oh, you'd be the bottom.
We're not going to be playing for the MAC title game.
You'd be the bottom of the conference.
And it was just the icing on the cake was NIU losing to Buffalo. You fucking knew that was going to happen. Unreal.
I told you.
Go Irish, baby.
No one believed me.
Taking years off my life. Clinton, when I have a hemorrhagic stroke at 38, this is why. Remember this conversation.
I will do.
To happier news, our original lock of the week hit. Rutgers 26, Virginia Tech 23. This game was not in doubt for a very long time, and then Virginia Tech with 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions early in the fourth quarter to tie the game. Ethan Kaliakmanis responds with a 63-yard pass on the last drive to stop the game-winning field goal, and then Robert Longbeam with an interception of Kyron Drones on the next drive to seal the game. Somebody finally shut down Kyle Monangai.
Mm-hmm.
Only 84 yards on 26 carries and a touchdown. 3 turnovers, though, Clint, for Virginia Tech. That was probably the difference in this one.
Yep. Yeah, 3.2 yards per carry for Monangai. You and I were both pretty bold in our lock of the week saying Monangai was going to run all over them. That was incorrect. Also, guys, if you didn't see the Kyron Drones safety, I highly suggest you go back and look it up.
It's the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life.
Dan Orlovsky is officially off the hook for worst safety ever. Yeah, you mentioned I have a couple keys here. Key was turnovers. Virginia Tech loses 2 fumbles, had an INT, plus the safety. Kaliakmanis played good enough for him to win, and he had no turnovers. That's a tough environment to get a win in, so I was very impressed with Rutgers. The other key I had was missed scoring opportunities for Rutgers. They had a 4th and goal from the 1 with a 23-7 lead, failed to convert it. They also missed 2 field goals and lost a fumble inside the Virginia Tech 5. If you convert just maybe 2 of those into points, this is not a game late. So Rutgers cleaned it up a little bit. I'm still thinking you're an 8-9 win team, but when you get into Big Ten play, you got to convert your points. Virginia Tech, I'm not quite sure where they are right now. I don't know where the head of the team is. I don't know where the head of the quarterback is at this point, especially after his all-time worst safety.
And most importantly, Clinton, Rutgers 3-0 against the spread this year.
They're a lock to pick.
Keeping that one in the memory banks as they host Washington on a cross-country Friday night game this week.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Wow, look at me. I am the king of segues today. Washington 24, Northwestern 5. The Northwestern offense in this game was offensive. 112 yards. Jack Lausch, 8 of 27 for 53 yards. 2 interceptions. No Cam Porter in this game for Northwestern, so maybe a little bit of an asterisk that goes with this one, but this is another one of those games, Clinton. It was never in doubt. Will Rogers was fine. Good rebound game for him after they made him run speed option at the goal line last week for some reason. 20-28, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. Big breakout game in this one for Denzel Boston. 7 catches, 121 yards, and 2 scores. Passing game is looking good.
Did you freeze? You went silent. Never mind. Rogers to Boston connection looking pretty good at this point. Jonah Coleman continues to do his thing on the ground. Great rebounding win for Washington off the tough loss in the Apple Cup. The thing I put on here, only thing I have to say for Northwestern is embarrassing. 5 points. Second quarter, third quarter. That's all you got. Again, no Cam Porter, but man, I thought you'd score more than 5. But guess not. I'm on to Washington or Rutgers now. Sorry, Northwestern.
Yeah. The quarterback change has not yielded the desired results so far. You kind of sort of called this one here. Boston College 23, Michigan State 19. It is a cover for Sparty. But this is one that definitely got away. 3 second half turnovers for Michigan State. They fumbled the opening kickoff of the second half, which resulted in a Boston College field goal on the very first play of the next drive. Aiden Childs threw his second of 3 interceptions. He was also picked off when they were at the Boston College 36-yard line in the dying seconds of this game. 3 interceptions in the game for Childs, 4 turnovers for Michigan State. That is not how you acquit yourself in a 1-score game.
No, and the defense played well enough for them to win. That's the thing. They limited Castellanos. Ward, the running back, got it going. They were 102 yards, averaging 7.3 yards per carry. So back to that MSU Twitter page. If he's getting 7.3 yards per carry on you, what do you think Judkins and Henderson are going to do to you? I just had noted on the Childs picks. I know the one was late. Certainly hard, though. You have 4 turnovers. You're fighting rain, and you're missing 2 of your key wide receivers. Jack Velling kind of had a opening game for Michigan State this weekend. I think he had 72 yards receiving. Childs had to find somewhere to go with the ball. If Nick Marsh is there, does it make a difference? Probably, or at least to an extent. I guess it's hard to say. There was a heavy rain going on in that game that I'm sure hindered it. Sparty looks solid, though. I mean, they're 3-1. This is a tough BC team who just took Missouri to the wire. You didn't lose to an ACC foe who is incompetent. I feel like you lost to an ACC foe who is at or slightly above your level at this point.
To be fair, Clinton, do you know who else took Mizzou to the wire?
Vanderbilt.
Mizzou's
going to be that team because their schedule. They're just going to creep through. They're going to win these games, and they're going to get to the SEC title, and Georgia, or whoever the opponent is going to boat race them.
I don't even know if they'll get to the SEC title. They'll probably just end up making the playoff by some weird tiebreaker thing.
And boat raced.
Yeah, be the 10 seed and get spanked around by Penn State or someone in the first round.
Yeah. Not looking good at this point.
I did not have anything else on this game unless you touched on the injuries that obviously potentially key in this one. But again, 4 turnovers, that is the difference. Clinton, mark your calendar for November 2nd. It is Northwestern at Purdue.
Oh my God.
A certified battle for the basement in the Big Ten. We have Oregon State 38, Purdue 21. A week after allowing 9 million rushing yards to Notre Dame, the Boilers followed it up by allowing 340 yards on 57 rushes on the ground in this one. Hudson Card was not particularly great. 7 for 17, 56 yards. That is.
We want to talk about passing lowlifes of the week. We had 3 quarterbacks almost not break 150 yards.
I was going to say we had 3 Big Ten quarterbacks go for double digits in complete game efforts in this one, and go 2-1. That's the most remarkable thing. Maka being pretty good in the backfield, but I mean, if you're a Purdue fan, I can't imagine you were feeling particularly great about the state of the program based on the last 2 weeks.
No, and how high and mighty they were feeling on those tweets after the win over the Sycamores to open the season. Not going so well. And I took a peek. Next 4 is not getting any better. Nebraska, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Oregon.
Not great. That's a lot of teams that can. That's a lot of teams that can run the ball.
Yep. Ryan used this word last week for prediction. We're off the Notre Dame game. I'm going to use it again this week. You got a lot more shellackings coming your way, Purdue. My prediction in that summer episode saying you wouldn't win more than 2 games is going to 100% come true.
Yeah, that's looking pretty good for you. Because if you cannot stop the run, you got nothing.
I don't think I can stop anything at this point.
They can't stop a nosebleed. That does it for the recap portion of it. Hold on. Let me see if Microsoft Edge will open up for me here. Probably not. My computer's acting a fool. We can revisit the horrendous picks of the week here.
Yeah, I want to know what we were there.
Clinton and Ryan both went 1-1 on our locks of the week. We both had Rutgers and LSU. I was 4-9. Clinton, you were 7-6. You are now 3 games up on me for the season.
Let's go.
You hit the all the games we differed. Well, Sparty, Iowa, and IU. All 3 games we differed on. You hit. So
let's go. It's going to be a lot more fun, though. I think we're going to have more discrepancies. Like I said before, as we get into Big Ten play, depending on what these lines are. Like right now, I don't know where this line will go, but Penn State is a 17.5-point favorite right now over Illinois. I know it's a home night game, but that seems steep after I just watched this team play Illinois. I'm curious to see what. Well, no, Illinois coming into play. Penn State, yeah. I'm intrigued to see what the line is on Indiana and Maryland.
I believe IU is -7 right now. I believe.
That's tough. That one's tough. That's going to be one to give me some pause to think about. But yeah, I think we're going to get some more discrepancies as we go. We'll see how it shakes out on Thursday. But
we might have to go a little underdog parlay.
Yeah,
17.5 is a lot.
It was a really fun weekend of college football again. I had a buddy text me and say, "This is a bogus ass week. There's only 4 games worth watching." I'm like, "What are you talking about? There are games everywhere. Just because there aren't numbers beside the matchups doesn't mean they're not good." We had a lot of.
To be fair, that morning slate was cheeks.
It was. I mean, Clemson erased North Carolina State in about 2 seconds. If you went to go PP and come back, that game was over.
Yeah, that was 28-0 in the first quarter. I had a 8-way player prop parlay in the morning slate, and 7 of the 8 hit, and the only one that did not hit was Cade Klubnik over 225 passing yards because they pulled him with like 8 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yep.
Brutal. It's brutal out here. That was about the extent of the excitement of my Saturday, other than almost having an aneurysm in public watching Notre Dame play again.
I hope you really don't have a stroke this season with Notre Dame.
I might.
If Ohio State loses a game, we might have to do a live show on the night of the football game.
Clinton, they're going to kick us off YouTube if we do that.
You're going to want live reaction for me right away.
See, it's more fun when Ohio State loses because you're not used to it. I'm so desensitized and dead inside that this is what we do. We lose games that we should not.
Mount St. Helens with how erupted I will be. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully I don't have to worry about that, but we'll see.
I'm counting on it. If you're still listening, thank you for tuning in, listening to us talk again about nonsensities and feelings and stuff. Reminder, we will not be with you tomorrow night. We are pushing that back to Tuesday 9 p.m.
Hooday. We're going to win finally.
So Clinton can watch the Bengals, hopefully not lose. Some sort of stock report revisiting of our tiers that we did in I can't even call that the preseason. It was back in Jesus Christ, was that April?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do it.
That was one of our first shows.
So long. Yeah.
So I can probably tell you when it was. My stupid phone will open.
It was our third or fourth episode.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that because I did not keep the sheet in which I wrote them all down on. So I don't remember where I had everyone. All I remember is the cousin Greg tier, which I can give you a spoiler alert at this point. It's going to be Purdue and Northwestern.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, it was our first full episode.
Okay.
April 1st. So if you guys want a refresher on where we tiered these teams,
We can
way
repost
back
it.
when. Yeah, we can repost it. Yeah, we can do that.
Get
We'll
you ready
repost
for
that.
Tuesday night's tiering.
Yeah, we'll repost that on the socials. You guys can listen to that and listen to where we have these teams ranked.
Might be some literal tiering from me if the Bengals lose again Monday night.
That works. So we'll see y'all on Tuesday. Everyone, please root for KC to win by at least 4 points. I know that's rooting for the devil, but Ryan needs to make some money after the bath that he took on Saturday. So positive vibes only. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. We'll see y'all on Tuesday.
See ya.